Greetings, this is the Black Pill Fitness Productions, and today I thought I'd do a broadcast on fitness for schizophrenics. And this is for the individuals primarily on our other channel, but I thought I'd do this in general. And I thought I'd put that picture of Brett DeForce on the cover of our broadcast as an example of what you can attain as a successful homosexual schizophrenic autist. If you work hard and lift weights, you can be like Brute DeForce, whatever that is. I mean, I guess you work hard, build your body, and guys will pay you to be to let them be your pay pigs, and blow you and stuff. So it's totally worth it. And anyway, I'm going to talk about schizophrenia. I'm not a schizophrenic, but some of my best friends are schizophrenics. All my followers are schizophrenics. So it's very important that we address this in the fitness because it's a very interesting topic. I'm not going to go into it in depth, nor am I going to talk about pharmacology in depth, but we are going to touch on aspects of both of those subjects today. Now, schizophrenia is fundamentally a lack of discipline. For a long time, people have suffered from schizophrenia. Schizophrenia is like autism. It's one of those diagnosis that is very difficult to chronicle and diagnose and so forth, or not diagnose, but chronicle and understand in terms of modern liberal medicine. So I like to go with alternative views on schizophrenia, be they from Foucault or whoever or whatever, but we're not going to get too deeply into that. We're going to talk about the lack of discipline that comes, it's intrinsic in the nature of schizophrenia. And the lack of discipline means that most schizophrenics don't get enough exercise. And if you ever look at their wrists, you can usually tell a mentally ill person by their wrists. Person specifically mentally ill with suffering from schizophrenia. They say suffering from schizophrenia, like it's a curse. Now, the modern byproduct of schizophrenia, we could do a whole broadcast on the very aspects of schizophrenia and how it differs, or the difference between schizophrenia now and schizophrenia in other epochs or even recent decades. But we're going to primarily focus on the lack of discipline. And there's two aspects of this that you have to rectify if you want to be fit and schizophrenic. Now, we're not going to go into all that, the background of schizophrenia and so forth and so on. We're going to focus on the lack of discipline that's basic. Now, a lot of schizophrenics trigger their own schizophrenia two ways. One, they smoke too much weed. Two, they hung around mommy too much. Those are the two primary ways of schizophrenics developing both schizophrenia and indiscipline. A lack of discipline. Hanging around mommy made them soft, made them too accepting of circumstances, too accepting of themselves. They accepted themselves for who they were, which was nothing or less than nothing, being schizophrenics. And moreover, then on the other hand, they started smoking weed to allay their pain. Some of them started shooting heroin. Pain was illegal because if mommy can't kiss it and make it go away, then you have a serious problem that has to be addressed by pharmaceuticals. So this is where the indiscipline came in and the weed smoking came in, and it accentuated the schizophrenia. And so fundamentally, the first point you're going to have to deal with, besides getting away from mommy and staying away from mommy, is getting rid of the weed smoking. Weed is marijuana in all its forms is going to be your greatest enemy for several reasons. And we're going to talk about that. But the way you get off marijuana is to start using canna or Scalectium. Now, Scalectium tortosa, if the Dutch had won that war with the British, you'd be smoking it today anyway. We'd been a better society, but you're not. So the Dutch lost the war, and so the most excellent restorative of canna was replaced by tobacco. But they're basically, in a lot of ways, interchangeable. But tobacco, I don't know its exact role in schizophrenia or how it helps or hinders. I know a lot of schizophrenics smoke. I think you'll find, however, that overall, it's better to use canna. You can smoke it, you can drink it in a tea. The Russians use it actually to treat alcoholism. It has many purposes. It's not used widely as a pharmaceutical in the United States, but nevertheless, it is a good and useful, most excellent restorative, as the Dutch put it. But it's a good and useful drug. It will help manage your cravings for marijuana. It will order your mind, and it will give you a little bit of energy as well. So you'll get a little boost of energy, and you will get orderliness of mind. Orderliness is a word, believe it or not. It's not a word well received in modern day society, but it is a word nonetheless that you should remember. And you need that order of the mind in order to function. And having done that, the next step for fitness with schizophrenics is to establish a method of breathing, because the other problem that schizophrenics have is breathing. And that's why they're constantly using smoking or doing these other things and not breathing deeply enough. So you're going to want to get into Wim Hof's breathing techniques and do Wim Hof's breathing techniques. Now, this alone is not going to help you. Taking deep breaths and so forth and so on, all that, that's not going to help you. Neither is taking cold showers, but that's a beginning. Those are the beginning foundations of establishing a form of basic discipline, not even radical discipline, but basic discipline necessary to function as a schizophrenic. And, people talk about a lot of things triggering a psychotic episode with schizophrenics. Now, most of these psychotic episodes are not, in fact, really anything of the kind. It's mostly schizophrenics displaying or aggression or acting aggressively or in a way that would, potentially harm another human being. And this is basically normal. It's normal to want to kill and beat other people. So it's not psychotic in the least. We have unfortunately caused that people to feel that their natural feelings of aggression are abnormal, and their unnatural feelings of sexuality are normal. So we've got it backwards, as it were. We're looking at things in entirely the wrong way. So people's perverse lusts or natural lusts even have been normalized, and their aggressive tendencies have been considered abnormal. And so you have a problem there. So there's no such thing as triggering of a psychotic episode by going off your meds or something like that. If you have discipline, you're going to be able to manage your desires to kill or hurt people. And so you're going to solve it that way. Now, we can get into prayer and all that, but we're going to focus on fitness today. Now, fitness is basically, once you've got your breathing down, that's the fundamentals of, that's one of the fundamental basis of discipline, not only of discipline, but also of weight training. So then you're going to be able to start weight training once you've mastered you've given up marijuana, you've started using Scalectium as a altered drug, and not necessarily and you stop viewing your condition as being abnormal, and you've also gotten a good head for breathing. So once you've been able to do reps with breathing and all that, in and out, and do your cold shower routine and all that, according to Wim Hof and so forth and so on, you're going to be in a much better place. You're going to be taking deeper breaths. You're going to be moving more. You're going to be able to stand up and throw your chest out and act like a human being again, instead of like a weird, twisted, mentally ill freak. And this is just the basis. Now, the other problem schizophrenics have, and this is, again, going to the basis of the problem, is having any perspective that's rooted in reality and having anything to attain to. So a lot of people no longer, where schizophrenia is the most intense and where the people become the most weird and twisted of freaks, is where they have no role models. And you're not going to find role models in a bodybuilding magazine or a Marvel movie, or you're not going to want to look like Superman. For most schizophrenics, you're going to be either extremely fat, in which case you're going to have to do more cardio, or you're going to be extremely skinny, in which case you're going to have to focus on more weight training. But there's not a lot of middle-of-the-road schizophrenics. Middle-of-the-road schizophrenics are known as functional human beings. And so people tend to either extreme, and you're going to have to focus, look at yourself in the mirror and decide which is proper for you, whether you're going to have to focus on more basic weight training, and you're going to have to focus on different muscles than most people do, because what you're going to need to do primarily if you're schizophrenic is understand that your body type is always going to be a little different than a normal individual's. Now, a lot back in the day, we're talking about like the era of the Crusades or whatever, the schizophrenics were powerful men, but as you notice nowadays, they're very weak naturally. If you go to a mental health institution and you look at the people, they're very scrawny, they're very thin. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah, they always look thin, and or they look drawn or just fragile, and they may be grown up, but they're not fully developed. They have the limbs and physiognomy of children, even though they're grown up. And this is because their mothers coddled them to such an extent that even after they go through puberty, they haven't developed their bodies. So this is often the case. So you're going to have to inevitably trigger puberty by starting light and working up. Now, a lot of schizophrenics have a lot of strength comparative to their size often, however, and you are often capable of developing a great amount of strength. Now, if you have the money, you want to run a test, a DNA test, see what percent Neanderthal you are, because that's going to give you an idea of how much strength and mass you can obtain over time by eating properly. Now, eating properly is also going to be a problem, and this is where the DNA test is going to come in for your strength training, because if you are more higher percentage thou, then you're going to want to avoid white meat, and you're going to either way need to eat a lot of vegetables, no processed foods. You know, some other people say, oh, you're going to get processed foods one way or the other. Well, schizophrenics are mostly the way they are because they eat total garbage. They're 100% garbage consumers. So you're going to just a healthy diet, which you're going to now have the discipline to consume, is going to be the fundamentals for your diet as far as that goes. So you're going to be focusing on red meat and vegetables of all kinds, preferably those in season. And, if you can't afford this, well, you should probably kill yourself, which is, always an option. But in either case, the weight training, as far as weight training goes, I believe that you should start with push-ups and some forms of calisthenics and test the limits of your agility and your ability to move, because at the weight you're used to, you might want to maintain that weight and simply put on some mass in many cases, but you're going to want to focus on your neck, your wrists, your forearms, and those parts of your body, and not so much the show muscles, because those are the muscles that you're going to need as a schizophrenic. Primarily, you're going to want to, first of all, look like a normal human being instead of a twisted freak. And this is the diet will enable you to achieve this. And a simple 5x5, program, a basic program that you can adhere to now that you have some discipline. But push-ups and gymnastics, schizophrenics, and just the mentally ill in general usually have very extraordinary tendon strength for their musculature. And it's very interesting to observe that. And they're usually very strong in the tendons and just have non-existent muscle, mostly because of their diet, but also because of their late arrival through puberty or what have you. And so these are all basic tips. I'm going to keep this video in 15 minutes. This is the beginner's guide to a schizophrenic's basic fitness levels. And I would encourage all the schizophrenics to go out there and train. This is your basic step. You want to move on, and we're going to talk about this. It's worth watching my videos for non-schizophrenics as well, because most people are fairly mentally ill these days. So my advice for normies and wages will be basically the same in a lot of instances as the advice I give to schizophrenics. But this video is designed specifically for schizophrenics, and I would like to thank your Manrick for inspiring me to do this video, and hopefully this will inspire him to get out and train, because basketball is the lowest sport known to mankind. It's a good sport, as Naismith, the inventor, said, for boys, but not for grown men. Or is that backwards? It's for grown men and not for boys. Either way, it's not for you. You're Manric. So without further ado, I'm going to close this broadcast. This has been another broadcast by Black Pill Fitness Productions. We will be doing a number of broadcasts in the near future, and so stay tuned. And I can't think of anything else to say.